I think the safest way to explain this is to quote a saying from an American economist, Thomas Sowell. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. Men are at their best when they get to be the breadwinners, yet as of now, most of us are becoming quite useless. Most women, in general, don't seem to find house husbands attractive, and men at large are still doubtful of becoming one. But more importantly, what I think people like ElevenLabs are dealing with in their phone call videos is that men in masses are flipping off whatever they see as something from the mainstream, and that ignorance is due to something even I can relate to. Due to their bad experiences in the past, many men look at the actions of people they're dealing with instead of just listening to their words. And if your action or inaction conflicts with whatever you've said, they're not buying your words. And no, I don't have any fucks to give about what class I'll be put in by whoever watches this video, given that I have to clone my voice with an AI to bypass my shitty English accent. But regardless, I refuse to be 120% responsible for why I've made the choices that I've made. Just because the only way for me to enjoy my existence is to eat junk food and sit on my ass doesn't mean that I wouldn't prefer taking care of my body if the incentive structure were there. Women need to realize that since it's so much harder for grown-up men to find any kind of companionship, most of us need a clear incentive structure to make us bother with working out and all that. At least I'd need a guarantee of a loving relationship if you wanted to motivate me to change my habits for a healthy lifestyle. You can hate the impact of relationships all you want, but please cut the crap for a moment. I bet most single people would still prefer to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend to live with without drama. And the older I get, the better the alternatives have to be for me to get motivated. I'm so done with those degrading autistic support groups that always devolve into clubs of mental preteens. If anything, most interventions you can get as a grown-up autist, even in Finland with our overrated welfare system, only get in the way. And I bet most of those who take more part in them than I do are more or less stuck with them because no one else will give a damn. Just compare the faint potential for a crazy romance with a woman who can relate to you, and soon enough those out-of-touch, patronizing professionals can go f*** themselves. My philosophy is way more about sensationalism than those academic ideals that everyone tries to apply because they're afraid of being accused of a thought crime or something. I'm too f***ing old to be afraid of the current equivalent of the 30s Germany, which is the mouth breathers that abuse all the loaded terms against you whenever they lose an argument and express their hatred of truth. Anyway, it's not like I didn't try to find love when I still looked better than I do nowadays. The reason why I'm fat is that I have no better source of dopamine after trying my best for so many years. I've been between a rock and a hard place as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a teen and my school just sent its worst bullies after me, I've kind of known that anything related to love is a losing battle for me and my kind. So you could say that my life has been a self-fulfilling prophecy since then, as I just haven't had the energy and motivation to hustle to make people proud of my quote-unquote accomplishments that mean jack shit in the end. And to be real, even when I've got to talk to women of my age, I've just found their preferences and expectations downright depressing. It's like no one pays attention to what traveling and all that popular shit means to them personally, but they're rather just collecting achievements like soulless bots and calling it life. And that's been my problem with the so-called rehabilitation and whatever I've been in due to my autism. No one pays attention to the personal meanings, yet they expect the best productivity and employability from you, or put you in some restrictive benefit programs if you can't reach a certain threshold. And as soon as I smell such an attitude from the other party, I'm already done with them internally. I'm yet to find anyone who shares my frustration with what I just described. And yes, I've even rejected a woman when I could tell she was another one of those soulless achievement-collecting bots instead of a unique person. Despite a fan subtitling project that has given me some kind of role and purpose in any context, I'd still prefer if my life weren't about distracting myself from my loneliness with arduous fan projects. But again, as society is far better at making unreasonable demands than getting its members into a position where they'd gladly contribute to the common good, it seems as if I'm out of choice. It's this constant loop where people wonder why I don't work, after which I explain to them what I've said in this video, which then angers them because I don't do what I'm quote-unquote ought to do, after which everything continues as if nothing happened. All in all, most people just seem to hate applying the simplest logic to how most societies are set up these days. If there's nothing more to an arduous and usually underpaid work than serving people who hate you anyway, then why bother if welfare gets you as much, if not more money? If the goal was to get a job that pays a living, find love, have kids, raise the kids, and then retire in a nice house with the mortgage paid up, then the status quo gives next to no means to achieve all those unless you happen to be passionate about something that pays well. And honestly, if it were that bad, even if I were still thin, I just don't get the point. I barely have the energy to continue with my fan subtitle project as it is, because of how pointless it is to resist the urge to drink Pepsi and live like Eric Cartman. Maybe I'm asking too much of most of the human species, or I'm just too smart for my own good. Maybe I should be stupid enough to hustle for what's essentially meaningless in the end. Why do all the work if you're most likely forgotten in a few years after your passing? Shit, why the f*** am I even devoting my time to my native language that's only spoken by 5+ million people in the whole world? I could as well just quit and stare at my walls all day. Then again, maybe that's the key to prosperity. People put their passion and energy into whatever makes them forget about their misery, essentially making societal advances a byproduct of distractive behaviors. So if most of the human species ever becomes capable of it, then make employment financially and mentally more rewarding than this, and I'll change my ways. Though I have little faith in the masses that are generally too stupid to even use video editing codecs instead of paying a fortune for hardware that's beyond their true needs. Also, most of them are stupid enough to let their overrated feelings take over them if this video happens to trigger whatever they treat as trauma without grasping the mental load of being an autistic 35-year-old leftover male. Make a male dating profile with those stats and find out.